All right, y'all, in today's video, we're going to be ranking every single starting power forward in the Eastern Conference here on this tier list. We got our standard 4 tiers that I've used for all the other videos, and we're ranking from the number 1 seed to the number 15 seed. And I got to say, making this list, I was very impressed by how deep and how talented the power forward position is, especially in the Eastern Conference. Definitely the strongest position that we have ranked so far, or maybe not the strongest, but the strongest since point guard for sure. So yeah, with that being said, a lot of good players to rank in today's video. We're going to start it off with Evan Mobley, who is a really good player, and honestly, he's having such a good year. I almost want to put him in that best of the best category. I'm not quite going to do it, but I'm real close to it. He's right at the top of stud. I mean, Evan Mobley is an amazing player, deserves to be an all-star this year, in my opinion. He's only averaging 19 a game, but he's at almost 9 rebounds, shooting over 41% from 3 this year, which has been a huge progress area in his game this year. I mean, it just has been really good across the board. I really think he's become more physical this year. He's shooting a career high 62% from inside the 3-point arc as well. Plus, again, that 41% on 2.8 threes a game, more than double what he shot per game in the rest of his career, and a much higher rate of efficiency. Just overall, more efficient season so far. More efficient from 2-point range, more efficient from 3-point range, just more efficient shot selection. Overall, there's nothing to really criticize about Evan Mobley's season so far. He's having a great year, and he's one of the better defensive guards or defensive bigs in basketball as well. Awesome player, and honestly, I mean, if he keeps this up, I think he's going to be in that best of the best tier very soon. I will just say that. But there's already a few guys who are definitely still above Evan Mobley. One of those guys is obviously Jason Tatum, who I think in a lot of people's minds is considered a small forward, but for the Celtics team, he does start at power forward. He's still a 28 point per game guy, over 9 rebounds, 5.5 assists. Efficiency isn't game changing or anything like that, but it's certainly not bad. He's a more efficient than average player overall. Shoots the 3 ball really well at a career high of attempts, 36% from 3, not too shabby there. Overall, I mean, he's a career high in rebounding as well at 9.3 a game this year. Nearly a double-double this year per game for Jason Tatum, a guy who's kind of a dark horse MVP candidate. I wouldn't really say he's got a serious chance to win the award. It feels like it's going to come down to SGA and Jokic, and maybe Giannis will have a great chance to get into that race. But there is no doubt in my mind that Jason Tatum is at a very minimum like a top 5, 6, 7 player in the league. Probably in most people's eyes, top 5 right now, and he's definitely best of the best. That is for sure. OG Anunoby has had a really solid year for the Knicks. This is going to be more of a top-heavy list than some of the other ones we've had recently, just because of how deep this position is. But OG, I mean, he's 16 points a game, almost 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 47-35 so far on shooting efficiency this year. Hasn't been unbelievable, but has been very solid. He's one of the best defensive wings in the league. Really versatile player in that aspect. Not a great playmaker by any means, but he is. And he's not a great rebounder either for a power forward. Obviously, he's undersized for the 4, but he's a very solid shooter. He's an elite level defender. He puts the ball on the floor and scores pretty well in his own right as well. He's never been an all-star. He won't be this season either, but he's a very good player. And I think, I mean, Lost, I think I'm moving him down tier for right now, just because I feel like that this stud tier might wind up going to guys who are more all-star caliber, but aren't quite in that highest tier. But I think I'm going to move him to top of meh, which it feels wrong, but on a list as deep as this one is, some guys got to go lower, and OG's great, but this is a stronger list than other positions on this list, that I've done lists for, I should say. Giannis is obviously best of the best. He is the best player on this list, one of the 2 or 3 best players in the world right now. Has not shot the 3 ball well at all this year, but has not needed to because he barely shoots them. He shot less than a 3 per game this year, and he is at a 61.7% from the 2-point range. He's shooting more mid-ranges than ever this year and shooting them more efficiently, which has actually, I do think, even though he's shooting the efficiency on those mid-range attempts way better than he's ever shot mid-ranges, overall it is hurting his efficiency as a whole, because he's not shooting quite as many 2s at the rim. But he's still a 31.7 point per game scorer, averaging almost 12 rebounds and 6 assists a game. He's one of the most impactful defenders in the league. Absolutely shut down Wemby a few nights ago in a big time matchup. And just as a whole, there's no argument to be made that Giannis isn't one of the best players in the league. He's obviously best of the best. Paulo Banchero, I think, also has earned himself a best of the best category ranking. That may feel a little strong, but come on, y'all. He's averaging 30 a game this year. 8.5 rebounds, 5 assists. Look, I get he's only played in 6 games, but 50, 40, 65, not great, but the 50, 40 is awesome. 27 minutes in his first game back against Milwaukee a couple nights ago, and he goes for 30 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Just finding a way to be impactful across the board as a player, shooting a career high from 3. Will that shooting last quite at that high of a level? Maybe not. Is he going to be close to a 30-point per game scorer, though, this year? I think so. I feel like I got to go best of the best for Paulo as well. Pascal Siakam, as a member of the Indiana Pacers, has definitely had another good year. The Pacers as a whole have started to figure things out as a late. Siakam's 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 52.5, 42. His efficiency this year has been awesome. That's the main thing to me that makes it easy for me to put him up in that stud tier versus having OG Anunoby a tier below, is the efficiency on a guy like Siakam is just night and day better. And the fact that he's also a better rebounder and has some more of that natural size at the power forward position, to me, makes him a little more valuable than a guy like OG. To me, that's a stud caliber player for sure. Jimmy Butler, 2 seasons ago, would have been in best of the best, absolutely. Even last season, I think he might have had an argument. This year, look, he is probably not going to be a member of the Heat much longer, but he has been their starting power forward for the vast majority of the season. So take from that what you will. But I mean, come on, 17, 5.5, 4.7, 55, 37.5, 79% from the free throw line. The efficiency isn't quite where, I mean, it's certainly not bad. It's very good from 2-point range. In fact, I think it might be a career high from 2-point range. It looks like it is. But the 3-point efficiency, while an improvement over earlier points in his career, is only on 1.5 attempts a game. He's only scoring 17.6 in total. I don't think his playmaking has really improved dramatically at all over the past couple seasons, although his turnovers are down a bit this year. And he's still a good defender. When Jimmy's locked in, he's super duper solid. But I really will say these last 3 games that he played, which was the one where he got hurt against OKC, and then the 2 games that he basically mailed against Indiana and New Orleans, certainly hurt his averages a lot, considering in those 3 games he scored a combined 18 points, and all 3 of those games counted towards his stat line. So the stat line's a little deceiving with Jimmy. I still think I'm going to go stud. Now, I will say Jimmy's whole situation makes this a weird ranking for sure, but I just can't not put him in that stud tier. Still a really solid player. Tobias Harris, I'm sorry, you are a very good player, but he's a good veteran player. He's not a great player, but come on. Like, at this point in his career, I get that he's not a bad player and he's useful. I think OG is definitely a lot better defensively. Offensively, the numbers are relatively similar. 45% from the field is okay, but not amazing. He's somewhat efficient, but not incredibly so. Not an incredibly high scorer either. Has had a nice career and a long career at this point. So shout out to Tobias Harris. But to me, while still a useful player and a solid starter, he's got to go in the lowest tier, in my opinion. Jaylen Johnson is going to be one of the more controversial choices in this list, but to me, he's been better than Jimmy Butler has this year. I will say that. Jaylen Johnson, stud. Legitimately, 6'8", 6'9", actually. 19. He's basically averaging 20, 10, and 5 on, I mean, very good 2-point efficiency. 3-point efficiency could be better as a whole, but it's not awful, especially considering he is shooting over 4 attempts a game. Would like to see him get that back up over 35% like last year at least, but as a whole, he's having a very solid season, a nice efficient year at by far his highest scoring and rebounding numbers of his career. Has really stepped up into a bigger role offensively and defensively for the Hawks over the last 2 years, but especially this year, in all honesty. So to me, deserves a lot of credit. I'm putting him in that stud tier as well. Patrick Williams, I'm sorry, you're getting paid too much money to just kind of be out there. But anytime I turn on the Bulls, that's exactly what Patrick Miller's doing. Or Patrick Williams, not Patrick Miller. 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Not great efficiency. I mean, he's just kind of there. He's not a horrible player, I guess, but I just don't see it. I'm sorry. I got to go Buns. Paul George, unpopular opinion here, probably, but he's been bad this year. I could put him in Buns if I wanted to, and I don't even think you could really complain to me if I did, but I'm not going to. 16 points, basically 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 42-ish% from the field, but only 34% from 3. I mean, you look at the numbers, he is shooting really poorly from the 3-point line. The worst he's shot it from 3 since his rookie season, literally. From 2, pretty similar story. Worst he shot it from 2 in a couple of years. One of his worst 2-point shooting seasons of his career. And he's only averaging 16 a game, which is a huge step backwards from previous stretches in his career. I mean, I think Paul George is still a very talented player, but at this point in the year, he's played too many games to get the benefit of the doubt at this point. I'm putting him in man, and I don't feel bad about it at all. Noah Clowney, you are going in that lowest tier. He has only recently become a starter for the Brooklyn Nets since they traded Dorian Finney-Smith. I will say, I've liked some of what he's done. He did have a couple of big games, specifically this 29-point outburst against the Pistons. But I do think, I mean, realistically, yes, he's scoring the ball more. a lot of that comes from the fact that he is in a situation now where guys like him, who on competitive teams would never see the court, are going to get more minutes and more opportunities. And so maybe he'll develop into a good player. As of right now, though, it's a no-brainer. Like, obviously he's in that lowest tier. Miles Bridges, again, I think off-court issues aside, which I think are very valid to bring up, especially with a guy like Miles Bridges. Like, that's a valid complaint and a valid thing to note. But he's at 18, 7.5, 3.5, 41.6% from the field, but only 28.4% from three. Really good field goal or free throw efficiency too, which is weird that he's that efficient from the free throw line. And yet, I mean, he's been really not great, but okay from three for the last few years, besides that 40% year, which was great. But now he's 28.4% on 6.7 attempts a game. Just not good enough. Scoring's a bit down this year as well. Like, I don't love it. I feel like he's probably the lowest guy in meh, but I think that's where he deserves to go right now. Scotty Barnes, I got to give Scotty Barnes at least that higher tier, that stud tier, because Scotty is just really, really good at everything. He's a legit scorer. He's a good rebounder, good passer. He's good at everything but shooting, I should say. He does not shoot the ball well, which is an issue, but it's not a gigantic issue, and he's as good at everything else on the court as he is. Scotty Barnes, elite level ball player, no doubt about it. Just wish he could get that three ball better, because he's good defensively, he's good as a driver, he's good as a slasher, he's good as a playmaker, kind of a de facto point guard for the Raptors a lot of the time, and I think he's a very good player. So to me, definitely putting him in stud tier as well. And then finally, Hal Kuksa, I'm sorry, you are going in that buns tier. He has had maybe the worst season of his career, and it's not even particularly close. Looking at the numbers, 44% from the field ain't bad, but 26% from three is atrocious. 14.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 2 assists a game. This is the worst season of his career across the board in terms of efficiency, scoring, all that type of stuff. Like 2019-20 was a little less scoring, same thing with 2021, but overall, I think Kuzma and the role he's played this season has had probably the worst season of his career, and definitely is not helping his trade value out too much, which gives us basically this list for the starting power forwards in the Eastern Conference. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more NBA content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.